Welcome to the second episode of the LA Report with your host, Eris Morrison.
And Lenjo Kilo.
We hope you guys enjoyed our first episode, our pilot. We discussed sports documentaries and the In the Water documentary and The Last Dance. So we appreciate all the love and support that we've been shown thus far. And again, we ask that you guys reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Lenjo, you can give them the tags in the beginning.
Oh, yes, sir. We are on Instagram at TLAR_podcast. We're on Spotify and YouTube at the.l.a.report. Like Eric said, we appreciate all feedback because our goal is to improve with each and every episode. So let us know what you think. Tune in, subscribe, follow, and let it sizzle, man.
Let it sizzle, man. So today's podcast, we got a couple of topics we're going to discuss with you guys. Some of the feedback that I received early on, a lot of you guys wanted to kind of know, like, how did you guys come up with you guys' names? Some people thought, bruh, that, LA, they saw the colors, they thought we might have been talking Lakers.
Right.
Some people, wanted to understand a little bit more in depth, kind of the slogan behind our podcast, revolutionizing Black masculinity. And I feel like, our first pilot episode, we jumped right in talking about our topics. And this episode, we want to give you guys a more behind the scenes look of kind of why we created the podcast, kind of what we were thinking and so forth.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Really the podcast was really Eric's idea because we have been for years, us being chapter brothers, for years we always have debates on like, sports topics or political topics, whatever. And then he said, yo, bro, one day we should do a podcast, man. And we always talk about doing it, but we never really like hop into it like full fledged. And then last year, we got into it a little bit. Like we had made the logo, made the name. Side note, the name is really basic. It's just L for Lenjo, A for Eris. And we made it LA because LA is a little easier to say than AL. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
That was pretty much it. So yeah, man. So we finally got the ball rolling now, figured it's the best time because, I was in school, him doing work, and I had moved from Maryland to Texas. So I had a lot going on than to really sit down and do stuff like this. But now that everything's at a standstill, I figured why not just hop out and fly, I think analysis paralysis is a real thing. And I think that, I'm actually glad that now we got the ball rolling because now we can do what we were set out to do. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely, man. And
yeah.
I think the podcast, definitely, as you were saying, we have so many different debates on just everyday topics that, it's important to create our own content, and really, create and add value to obviously a lot of different conversations and discussions that's being had. So, like you said, this is a great time to get the ball rolling. I mean, hell, we ain't got shit else to do. We just talked about how we're in the house,
no bullshit, bro,
in the house Memorial Day weekend. So let's get right into it, man. To the point of the name of the podcast, I give all the credit to Lenjo. Obviously, the LA Report is, like you mentioned, very simplistic in terms of his first name, obviously, and my first name. And the report is just our, just the discussions and the dialogue that we'll be giving you guys, bringing to you guys each and every episode. But a lot of people wanted to kind of get into the slogan. Specifically, revolutionizing Black masculinity. And I'm going to give Lenjo that credit and props because that was something that he brought to the table and I thought was very poignant as far as like the type of impact we're trying to have while having this podcast. So I'm going to let him go first and discuss pretty much what that means to him, and I'll follow right behind.
Yeah, bro. So revolutionizing Black masculinity. I came up with that slogan because number one, I figured that was going to be a major draw for people to get into our podcast. Number one, number two, because I wanted to set the tone that both of us are very intellectual men, and that we're not going to be on here just talking like we're some like sports jocks, like we don't have college degrees, like we don't work, legitimate jobs. You feel what I'm saying? And that we don't have real conversations. Now, in terms of revolutionizing Black masculinity, I personally feel that, of course, Black people, but specifically because I'm a man, I'm a Black man, that Black men, we are marginalized at such a high rate. I'm not discrediting women or anything else like that, but I only speak because I'm in my own skin as a man. That I feel like we are so marginalized and emasculated that we have to, kind of make a stand and kind of change the narrative on what it means to live in black masculinity. You feel what I'm saying?
Most
And
definitely.
and try to change it from what the media says it is and what social media says it is. You feel what I'm saying? Try to give it some real authenticity from the horse's mouth, being us two. You feel what I'm saying? So I
Most
feel
definitely.
like revolutionizing black masculinity is kind of like the underlying mission of the podcast is to give a perspective of two black males that are navigating in the world and trying to dispel some of the stereotypes that have fallen upon us, what I'm saying, that aren't necessarily from our own doing. You feel what I'm saying? Like, even with us being accused, like, whenever I tell someone that I'm accused, I automatically get "oh, you a nasty dog," or "oh,
Oh man,
like,
we already know, man.
you
You
feel what I'm
already
saying?
know.
And I'm
Shout out
like,
to the bros, by the way. Shout out to the
exactly,
bros.
boo, boo to the bros. But I'm like, Q's Omega Man, we are far more than that dog persona. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like,
sir.
we are upstanding men that do great things in our community, do great things with our families, our children, whatever the case may be. I wanted to create a platform where we can put out and positive affirmation within our messages on what it really truly means to be a black man and to live in our masculinity the right way. You feel what I'm saying? That was the whole thinking behind it for me.
Hey, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I mean, that's not really a whole lot to really uh say otherwise outside of that. Although what I will say, when you brought it to me, I definitely thought of all of those things, specifically being two young black men navigating the world and how we see it. There's the phrase of like speaking your truth. Obviously, that's very popular today, and I think that's kind of what we're doing. There's obviously a lot of podcasts, a lot of content of not just black people, obviously, but black men and women doing a lot of great things. And I think for us, when you talk about black revolutionizing black masculinity, I'm thinking about the fact that some of the stereotypes. To your point, black men really don't know how to communicate effectively. We don't necessarily articulate ourselves well at times per se. These are the stereotypes that kind
Yeah.
of get brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you discuss, black masculinity, sometimes, as the stereotypes go as well, sometimes not expressing ourselves has been defined to us as being a way of us being masculine, right? And so
Right.
we want to kind of decode all of that and really tear down that stereotype by bringing you guys, like you said, educated, thoughtful dialogue. I mean, we're not a debate show. Obviously, there might be times in which we differ in terms of our opinions, and that's fine. But the dialogue is always going to be healthy and try to be as educated and just and thoughtful as possible. And so when you talk about the slogan of the podcast, that's really what we're hoping to, not just in the short term, but in the long term,
Mm-hmm.
kind of create a narrative or change a narrative that's kind of been tainted, for lack of a better word. And so I'm excited. Like I said, we've been talking about this podcast for quite some time, and I just think that so far, all the positive feedback that we've gotten, and we understand, this is our second episode, and ain't nothing gonna be perfect. I'm excited to see for you guys to see how this thing morphs into just a completely different in terms of like how much better we are able to get over time. So that's pretty much where the name and the slogan has come from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's hopefully that answers you guys' questions. But hey, one thing about it, again, like we said, we're always open to feedback. If you guys have any other questions and you want to know a little bit more or have us elaborate, just DM us, let us know. You can DM us at our Instagram page. You can also hit us up on YouTube. Specifically, you could just reach out to me and Linjo on our personal IGs. Like I said, we always collaborate before each and every episode, and we'll definitely make sure to get those questions answered.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed, man.
So, our second topic of the day, we're going to bring you guys is a current event. Just recently happened. Presidential candidate Joe Biden on the Breakfast Club talking to Charlemagne the God. And while we didn't see the full interview, the clip that's circulating that's got everybody in a frenzy sort of is when Joe Biden, Charlemagne had asked, I basically asked Joe Biden, kind of, what is your black agenda? What is your black agenda for black people? And why should black people basically vote for you? And essentially, what Joe Biden's response was, to a degree, not exactly answering this question directly, but was like, hey, if you guys have to think about who to vote for in November when it comes down to me and Trump, you ain't black. And it's got the internet exploding. People want Joe Biden canceled, which brings up a lot of great questions. This is an explosive topic that is sure to get a lot of different opinions and reactions out of you guys. So I'm excited to actually
Nah,
discuss
for
it
sure.
because I have a lot of different variants opinions on it, and so we can just go
No,
from there.
no, go
But
ahead. No,
tell me
go
what
ahead,
you
bro.
think.
How right into your opinion, man. I want to hear. I want to hear. Yeah.
Okay. So for me personally, I look at it and I'm not going to criticize Joe Biden, but so much. As a presidential candidate, do I think he should have said it from a basic premise of should a presidential candidate say something like that? The answer is no, he should not. And I guess if people want to have that as being an open and closed case, then that's fine by me. We don't have to have a discussion. But since we are a podcast and since we do give our opinions on this show, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. Joe Biden only said that remark because he said it in jest, but he also understands the platform that he was on. He's on the Breakfast Club. He's being interviewed by Charlemagne the God. If anybody, I mean, first of all, we got to give the Breakfast Club some love. I mean, they have Joe Biden, the U.S. presidential Democratic nominee, on the show doing an interview. I mean,
That's big
I
time.
mean, hey, that's big time, man. I mean, they have some other guys on there, but to have a legit U.S. presidential candidate, and obviously he's on there because he wants to speak to the urban audience. Let's be
Yeah,
very
the quote
clear
unquote
about that.
urban.
Very, very much so. So we have to take everything into consideration, and I just believe that this is something he said not only because he was being interviewed on the Breakfast Club, as far as being interviewed by Charlemagne, he also understood that he might not have understood the effect that it possibly would have had to the audience or the reaction, but he said it because he definitely knew the audience that he was catering to at
Right.
that time. This isn't something that he would have said on CNN. He wouldn't have said this on Fox. And I get it. Some people say, well, why say it at all? And I just think that sometimes, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. So audience, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. But sometimes I just feel like as black folks, shout out to my dean, Kier Gaines. I saw him post something on Instagram this morning. Not related to this, but related in the context of very much something I think is prevalent, and which was what he says. Sometimes as black folk, we're like the indecisive girlfriend in a relationship. We don't know what the hell
Mm.
we want. And this is what I interpret from this situation. There's certain times or certain things we allow people to get away with where it bothers us and we have this strong reaction to it. And then other times it's like somebody can say something and it creates a stir. Now in essence we want to cancel people are want to cancel Joe Biden, don't want to vote for the man because of what he said on the
Yeah,
Breakfast
that's
Club.
crazy.
And I just think that's a stretch
Yeah.
because on that end you're still wanting to by not voting for Joe Biden, you're voting for Donald Trump. And I'm not telling you who to vote for. I think what Charlemagne actually said is a very key thing. Black people have to learn to start voting for their
Mm.
interests. And I think that's very
Mm-hmm.
key because too often, with black folks, we have given our votes to a Democratic
Mm.
Party who has never came out and said what their black agenda
Mm.
was. And I think that's very poignant because just because the Democratic Party is supposedly the party of black people, what have they done for you? And as they say, just like in sports or in any business, what have you done for me lately? I don't care what you might have done for me in the years past. What have you done for me lately? And so I just think as black folks, we should like while I can understand the frustration and kind of just the opinion that, hey man, you don't have the right to say that. I don't think it should get to a point of just full on rage of wanting to cancel what would be the future presidential candidate, well, the current obviously candidate, presidential candidate, but the potential future president, when it's clearly down to him or Trump. So if you're going to cancel Joe Biden, that means you're voting for Trump, period.
Period.
And so I just think that, we have to be careful about things like that. But that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'm not right about it. I'm not saying I'm right about it. It's just kind of what my thought process
Yeah.
is. And I'm very interested to hear what you
Nah,
think.
bro. To be real with you, bro, I really I agree for the most part. Like, especially when the point you made that Kiera brought up this morning about black folk being like the undecisive girlfriend. And that is a very powerful thing because black people, we are so divided in our interests that when it comes to whether to pick a president, any little thing can like, turn us off or turn us on. You
Mm-hmm.
feel what I'm saying? And I think we have to be a bit more tactful, a bit more uh, big picture thinking, if that makes sense. Like, okay, yes,
Mm-hmm.
what Joe Biden said, was unacceptable. It was inappropriate. To me, it comes off as flagrant. You feel what I'm saying? It comes off as arrogant as well. Like he's saying that as if
Yeah,
our vote for him is guaranteed. You feel what I'm saying? So
most
if
definitely.
someone came from that angle was upset, I can't knock them because I understand. But the bigger picture is what are we trying to do? For most of us, I guess, or some of us, we're trying to get Trump out of office. Bottom line.
Yep.
So we already have the understanding that this political system isn't necessarily set up for black people. We already have that understood from years and years of history behind us. We already understand that. But I feel like the only way for us to really get true change is to change those that represent us. So we have to get the best candidates in office. And Joe Biden,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, may be the best candidate for our people only because he's the one that's there. You feel what I'm saying? Of course, I personally feel like local politics is a little bit more important, but
Oh, it's
for the
always.
conversation, I feel like this thing that Joe Biden said, we cannot let that distract us from what our big picture goal is. You feel what I'm saying? Like this little thing should not be enough to stop us from going to vote. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. And this is basically what Joe Biden said, and coming from a black person, like coming from like I'm gonna give it to you from a like if I was on a street corner and I just heard Joe Biden say what he said on the Breakfast Club. He basically said, "Look, Obama told you niggas what was going to happen if y'all didn't vote the last time, and y'all see what happened when y'all didn't vote. If y'all niggas don't want to vote this time for me, that's cool too. Y'all black asses are going to be in the same predicament y'all in this same time where you're talking about a man who's in office who definitely attacks marginalized groups of people and doesn't do shit for y'all, and that's just what it's going to be. It is a very ignorant thing to say, especially when it's a white man
Oh
coming from
yeah,
a
for
white
sure.
man. We can't deny that. You know what I'm saying? We can't deny the fact that that's why we're upset about it. I mean, and like I said, it's a valid reason. I do ask that, as we start to educate ourselves on the politics of the matter, you look at what Joe Biden has specifically said. He wants to get a black woman or a black person on a black woman, I think he specifically said, on the Supreme Court. He definitely he does have somewhat of a black agenda that, I mean, it's not comprehensive enough that where we can say, hey, obviously you need to do more. When you consider Joe Biden, obviously from a candidate's perspective, some of his politics that he's been involved with, the crime bill, the war on drugs, obviously making increasing the amount of years you have to serve for drug related offenses. He was a part on the front lines of a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff he needs to be able to address for black people in ways that this country has yet to repay us for,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a lot of things that he has to do to kind of earn black people's support. But again, just like with Hillary Clinton, there's a question of, I mean, which is the lesser of
I
two
was just about
evils,
to say
right?
that, bro.
and that's what you got to
Yeah,
do.
man, you really got to understand, like, this game is not for the short term. This is for the long term. So we had to really, you know, cross our T's, dot our I's, and sometimes we gotta roll with the punches, man. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Like, okay, he said that shit was fucked up, whatever. But come on, if that is enough for you not to go vote, then you weren't trying to vote in the first place. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
if that's enough to stop you from going to the voting booth, then Trump already won.
And that's a
Given.
given, right? Like a non-vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Trump, and so it becomes a real important line to cross. But I just think that as we definitely enter in this presidential season of voting, people do your research. Like I said, a lot of times, man, like I'll share like some political interest as we divvy kind of somewhat from the actual Joe Biden topic itself, and just more so into some brief politics. I personally believe that sometimes, like as far as the Democratic Party is concerned, like there isn't a lot of things that's done to elevate and kind of carry out, like elevate black people. It's kind of like it keeps them in a cycle of
Yeah.
poverty. It's like it's just enough to kind of get by. It kind of gets people to feel like, okay, we're doing just enough for you guys to feel like we're doing something. And it's not to say that's all people, and I don't want to sound like I'm a Republican, because I kind of have a shared group of thinking when it comes to both. Like when it comes to some of the Republican principles, as far as capitalism is concerned, I'm a capitalist. I'm not going to sit up here and and try to sugarcoat it. I definitely believe that part of the things that makes that's frustrating as a people, for Black folks, is that we have so much power. We really, really do, and yet, to your point, we're so divisive amongst our thought processes, which are fine, but we can't seem to come together for issues, and from a collective standpoint, from a political power standpoint, and from a monetary standpoint, to really make some of the changes, because this is America. Like, to a certain extent, like me and you could come together and create something of value that will supersede our race. You know what I'm saying? The market doesn't care what race you are. Doesn't care what color skin you are. It's all about your ability to produce something of value. And I think that that's what that's what I want us to more so focus on as we move forward. And again, I'm not trying to sit up here and marginalize the impact of politics and what the Republican Party has done. I'm just saying Charlemagne's point, as far as voting for your interest as Black folk, should be our number one priority as we move forward. It shouldn't be about which party we're used to voting for. If a Republican comes through and he has a Black agenda that is more comprehensive, and again, a lot of times, right, like these guys come into play and they just don't know, um, you just don't know what's going to be done. But in terms of like what's honesty, in terms of like what type of plan do they have that actually is going to be put in place. But it's kind of like you have to vote on the arms and the strength of, like, do you even have a Black agenda? Do you even have something that's going to potentially uplift communities of color, marginalized communities, and also not just things that's going to, like I said, it's just going to be like a carrot on a string to say, here you go, and kind of keep us on this repetitive race, but like elevate people, elevate us out of situations where it's not generational poverty, that people can find ways to get themselves out. And that's just how I feel about it. And I hope that, hopefully my opinion does not offend anybody, because I want to be able to have open and honest dialogue, tying back into, what it means to kind of, tying into our slogan, just in terms of not being afraid to tackle topics like this. I just think it's
Oh yeah,
important.
definitely. And to that point, I feel like it's very important for us to understand that going into a discussion, going into a dialogue, there's a possibility that you and that other person will not see eye to eye. But at what point does it just stay there? I feel like that's another thing or misconception with like Black masculinity is like, oh, if I don't agree with someone, I gotta turn up emotionally. I gotta be in arms. I gotta fight you if you don't agree with me. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like that's something that we have to tone down and open our ears up and be able to open our ears up and our eyes up to try to understand the perspective of what the other person is saying to us, even if you don't agree, but giving them that enough respect to let them get their thoughts off. And I think that's
Well,
definitely something we should do in this case. And to piggyback on what you said about Charlemagne, I agree 100%. Like voting for your interest will behoove you more than anything. You feel what I'm saying? But
most
your
definitely.
interest cannot be too narrow-minded where you don't think about the fellow man next to you. You feel what I'm saying? Like I may be in a circumstance where my interests lie differently, but I see that, I guess, let's say I see people that I come across through work or through, you know, anywhere that they have different interests, and I think, okay, maybe I'll align with them so that they can get some things done in order for them. I know that I'll be fine. So having that kind of awareness in terms of like what will benefit me and also my people, having those two things in mind will definitely give you a clearer view on how to navigate and how to um, decide your political candidates. I think that's one thing we have to do, man, is get out of just voting for Democrats just because they're Democrat. You feel what I'm saying? We have to understand what it is. And like I said earlier, like getting involved on the local level as well. That's probably, to me, that's more important. Like really getting involved and knowing what district you live in, who your state delegate is, who's
Most
who's your
definitely.
senator, who's your governor. Like having that knowledge, having that foundation will give you greater insight on how to pick a president because you see it on the local level. You know what I'm saying? Knowing who your circuit court judge is, knowing who your county executive is. You feel what I'm saying? Like knowing who the people are that represent you in your area. You have that
Most definitely.
understanding first, then it'll give you clear insight on how to pick a president.
Man, we couldn't agree any more with that. And I think that, to your point about understanding, your city and local officials, these are the people that correlate directly to your everyday lives in terms of the decision making, in terms of funds being used in your communities a lot of times, and the contracts that's being done and that's being pulled for whether it be local businesses, etc. So understanding that everything starts, and you look at, everybody loves President
Mm-hmm.
Obama. President Obama started very local. He started on a community based mindset and a community based like epicenter, if you will. Like that was his whole thing, starting off, and it grew, and then he took a step forward, a step forward, a step forward, and ultimately, obviously, to the Senate, and then getting his name from being in the Senate and from all the work that he had put in on that local and that community local level, and then the Senate level, to being able to have a strong backing for being a presidential candidate outside of him just being an African American candidate. And I just think that a lot more of that thought process should be fostered. You know what I'm saying? Should be fostered in today's youth, and today's just society, just to understand that, hey, the president, right, like Donald Trump, is really just a symptom of a problem, right? He's not like the entire problem. I know a lot of people feel like that. He's a symptom of what we have kind of embraced as a country. And, as much as people want to blame Trump for a lot of things, you have to understand a lot of people voted for Trump, which means there's a lot of people who seemingly think like him.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to understand that politically, right? There is change that can be made, and there's paths for us to make that headway, but it all starts with just understanding, having basic knowledge, and understanding what kind of goes on at a city and local level for where you live at, and then progressing on to understanding how things are actually going to work when it comes down to presidential elections. And so, concluding, did you have
Oh
something to
no,
add
no,
to
no.
that?
You got it, bro.
Uh, I was about to say, just concluding that, just that was something current that just struck me, and I was like, man, like I think we need to have this conversation
Yeah.
because it was definitely it's definitely caused some head stir and everything, and I just thought we should probably
Oh yeah,
touch
man.
on it.
I think it's definitely, yeah. That was definitely shout out to you on that, 'cause I wasn't even thinking about that To be honest, there's so much stuff going on social media. I might see something and then just scroll past it and not even think twice about it. You know what I'm saying? But I guess to piggyback off of that, and I guess to go into our next topic, like with this whole pandemic that we're in with the COVID-19. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Like, what are your thoughts on COVID-19, and how do you see the country shaping moving forward?
So I have a very different outlook on COVID-19 than most, and it's kind of I'm a very unpopular opinion spreader. Obviously, I believe COVID-19 is something that is really crippling this country. I think that unfortunately, there's so many things that we don't know about this virus and that we are learning every day. But at the same time, I'm of the mindset we're going to have to learn to live with this virus, with this threat. The interesting thing that I find about it is that I guarantee if you polled many more black folk than any other folk, I'm just going to go to our community for versus what I how to depict on how I think. I'm interested to ask you this question. So most people believe that we have to wait until there's a vaccine to kind of make sure that we're good. First of all, I want people to understand what vaccines do and what they don't do. A vaccine does not mean you will not get COVID-19. It does not mean that. It simply means that a vaccine will make sure that obviously a vaccine typically means that you won't the illest of effects of the will not succumb you, right? So you won't get as sick. It's like when you get a flu vaccine. It doesn't mean you're not gonna catch the flu, just means that if you catch it, hopefully it's not as severe and it doesn't take as long for you to heal or
Mm.
recover from it, right? I mean, that's typically my knowledge. What's interesting is that most people say we have to wait for a vaccine. I'm interested to know how many people are actually going to take a vaccine that the government creates for this coronavirus.
Yeah,
When it
bro.
comes out,
I feel like a vaccine would be a very touchy subject, bro. I think most people, won't take it. You know what I'm saying? And um, my thoughts on the virus. Number one, the virus is serious. Let's get it out
for
of the way.
sure.
The virus is serious. You feel what I'm saying? Like people talking about conspiracy theories, all that stuff. That's cool, whatever. But the bottom line is this shit is real and it's here. Number one. Number
Yes, it
two,
is.
I think that um, people have to understand that there are things you can do to prevent stuff. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like prevention is better than the cure. So let's not even think about the vaccine. Let's think about things that we can do in our day-to-day lives that we can do to help prevent ourselves from catching it and help prevent ourselves from spreading it. I think that is the number one thing that we have to get into our minds and have a sense of urgency when it comes to the little things like washing our hands, using hand sanitizer, not being careful with wearing gloves. That's the one thing that I hate seeing the most. Is like people wearing gloves and then they touching everything in the store. Next, they grabbing their phone or they picking up food or a fork that they're about to eat with. Like, what's the point of you having the gloves on? You're gonna touch everything and put yourself in even more risk. You feel what I'm saying? Um, I think that a lot of people are like moving towards like natural methods and things of that sort, and I think that is great. You feel what I'm saying? But I do think people have to have more of an understanding that, you know, yes, the natural methods work, but natural methods are not combative. You feel what I'm saying? Like if you
Yeah,
yeah,
it's preventative.
like for example, not let's say COVID-19, but let's say, you get sick. That's not the time for you to start eating hella oranges or hella sea moss that everyone's eating nowadays, or
Sea Moss
you
gang.
know what I'm
Shout out to
saying?
Sea Moss.
Like that ain't the time for you to start building up your immune system. The time is before then. Making sure you're up on your vegetables and your fruits, up on your supplements like your vitamin C's, you know what I'm saying, daily vitamins, whatever the case may be, and also having a thoroughly clean diet that will promote,
Hmm.
healthier outcomes overall. But I do think that, people shouldn't necessarily be scared. Don't live in a state of fear, because what's fear going to do for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be scared of the virus.
Hmm.
Understand that the virus is here and that we have enough knowledge, enough information that we can prevent it and we can stop the spread overall. And that's probably the biggest thing for me. Like when I first heard about it, I was really curious as like what the virus was and like what were the long term effects. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's the other thing that we don't understand. We don't know yet, of course, but that was really where my thinking was. I was never once worried about, oh, will I catch it? Oh, will I won't? Nah, I understand this is real. I'm gonna definitely have my mask, my N95 mask. I'm gonna be careful where I go, mindful of who I'm around, and just try not to live in fear, but just live with urgency, if that makes sense. Like I'm not gonna be scared every day in my mind, but I'm gonna definitely take new measures to protect myself or those that are around me that I live with. You understand what I'm saying? So I think the whole frenzy around COVID-19 is what I guess frustrates me the most. Don't live in a state of fear. Live in a state of information and knowledge, and that will in turn give you power to make the decisions. You know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely agree with you, man. So like when I said it earlier, so like I don't want to minimize anything that's going on with COVID. I think like you said, COVID-19 is here. However, it was now what I will say is I'm not one of these people that just believe that shit came out of nowhere. That shit came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, we've been around for a long time. This shit, it didn't just pop out of nowhere. Even though I am a believer and I believe God can do whatever he chooses, I'm just choosing to believe that this wasn't just like something that just came mysteriously out of nowhere. So when it comes to those conspiracy theories, whether you believe it was man-made, created, whatever, I just believe it came from somewhere. But then we talk about obviously when you look at why Donald Trump has responded the way that he has to this virus, you look at it and say there's 60% of people who are dying from this virus have been African Americans, Black folk. And I think that obviously, when you take into consideration that profound statistic, um, why would he do more, considering the fact that Black people are disproportionately the ones being affected and dying, and the government, if you will, the economy is also being crippled, which is his calling card for making sure that he has a chance for reelection. And so you consider those two things, you have to understand that that's why I think that's why people's behavior is the way that it is right now. I'll start with your first point. I do think one of the beauties that has come out of COVID, I think, is I have seen, at least on some level, people take more of a
Mm.
conscientious approach to their
Hmm.
health and wellness. I seen people getting up and running. I work out every day. I know you work out every day. You do your thing. I've seen just a tremendous amount of people being more active, whether it be young and old, just trying to get their exercise in and trying to just live a healthier lifestyle. Hopefully, they're translating that into their diets as well. Because to your point, you want to be able to have preventative measures being taken before things get serious. I think that there's a lot of things that happen specifically with Black folk, where we don't like doctors in our
Word,
community.
word, word,
Period.
word, word, word.
Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't like doctors because sometimes we don't believe, and like, we feel like you can go there, tell them something wrong with you, and they give you some they'll give you some bullshit, send you home, and you feel like, well, damn, why I come in
No, no
here? You know what I'm
bullshit though.
saying? And
No, real talk.
and then and then two, you know what I'm saying, like, for people, not, and this isn't for everybody, so hopefully everybody doesn't take this as personally, but there is a lot of us in our communities who don't have the best health insurance, obviously. And so you're talking about co-pays and things of that nature where it costs you to even go into a doctor's
Yeah,
office. And
bro.
so I don't want to just have to pay, I don't want to have to go into a doctor's office to just, for the sake of not getting well or getting worse. Because it's like going to the doctor's office is also like taking your car to the mechanic. They tell you you going there for one thing. Next thing you know, they might tell you something else is fucked up. And you be like, well, damn, like now I got to come out and deal with this situation. And so hopefully the preventative measures are being taken. And I think that's a beautiful thing that has produced from COVID, from
Yeah,
Black
man.
folk.
And I agree. That's one thing I've been noticing as well. people taking a healthy approach to their lifestyles. And, you know, as a community, I mean, we can just call it what it is, man. Systematic oppression is the reason why we have such low health outcomes. Like, why we are at more risk if we do get sick to die is because our setup in this country, even around the world in most cases, our setup is not advantageous to recovery. You feel what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
that's kind of
Absolutely.
the driving force of why I'm even in school right now, studying for my degree. Well, quick background: I'm studying for my master's in healthcare administration. So for me, like, it's kind of funny. I had a report on this of it last week or so that about health literacy. I feel like black people, our health literacy is so low that
Mm-hmm. That and financial
yeah,
literacy. Let's
fact.
keep it about. That's
Oh no,
another
no, for
subject
sure.
for another day.
Like when it comes to the things that we need to know that are important to us, our finances and our health, our literacy and our background knowledge on it is so minuscule. It's so bad. You feel what I'm saying? Now, of course,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to be like another diagnostic test. We already know what the issues are. We already know the issues. So for me, it's all about the solutions at this
Right.
point. So like being more aware of, you know, your symptoms that you're having, being able to decipher what you read online, like not falling for the WebMD trick where you put in a symptom and it's because the worst case possible. You know what I'm saying? Like being more mindful and sensitive to what really applies to you and what doesn't. And also being more aware of how to pick your insurances that will really fit you in case you do,
Mm-hmm.
and your
And
family.
your
You feel what I'm
family.
saying? Like a lot of people, at least
Mm-hmm.
black folks I know, make health insurance or even auto, whatever the case, insurance decisions based on how much is going to come out their pocket per month until something
Absolutely.
happens where they need their insurance and their insurance plan can't cover, you know what I'm saying, their need, and then what? They're
Mm-hmm.
in a jam. You feel what I'm saying? And let's be real. Hospitals are businesses, bro. That's the
Absolutely. The pharmaceutical industry is the biggest, and the biggest.
I'm telling
That's
you,
the
like,
biggest one.
it's a business. So if you have that in your mind that more times than not, you go into a hospital, their goal isn't necessarily to heal you. Their goal
Right.
is to service you just enough where you can walk out the door. Just in a little bit, you have to come back. You know what I'm saying? So we can get more money out of you. And that's kind of why I'm in healthcare admin, because I want to be able to change that landscape for black people. Like, I don't want us to have that fear, like, damn, like, I'm gonna go in this hospital, they're gonna give me some medicine that ain't gonna fucking work, and now I'm gonna be out $40, $50, $30, whatever my copay is, and I'm not gonna get better. And then now I'm gonna sit at home and just try to do it myself. When in reality, that's not necessarily a good option either, because we don't know how to heal ourselves most times. You feel what I'm saying? So I just think
Absolutely.
overall, like we have to be more cognizant and take a more proactive approach to our health literacy and being able to make real decisions and understand how to navigate through the fluff and the bullshit. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes. So I want to touch on
No, no,
something
no,
that
no. Go
you.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you? I want to touch on something you mentioned just a little bit, a little while ago. So, you mentioned
Yeah,
CMOS, right? And we're going to get back on track because I want to talk about obviously continue the COVID-19 overall conversation. But CMOS, I've been taking CMOS for about 8 months now. Prior to this whole obviously this pandemic and prior to just this seemingly just outbreak and like this explosion, if you will, of just everybody selling CMOS. And it's actually a pretty interesting thing to see. A lot of people really don't know what CMOS doesn't know what CMOS do. However, I came into contact with it. I think a few months ago, like before I started taking it, I was listening to a Breakfast Club interview with Dr. Sabi's grandson and I believe his daughter and his son, and they obviously was talking about the many different, just the what their the type of work that they were trying to accomplish, and they're in the healing business. Obviously, for those of you who are not familiar with Dr. Sabi, that's another subject for another day. Definitely encourage you to do your research if you haven't heard of him, or if you have heard of him and not sure exactly his impact. Definitely something I would recommend you just look up for your own knowledge. But CMOS is something that's not new, that's been around for quite some time, and CMOS is something that is very beneficial to you. I mean, now it's if you have I'm not sure. I can't speak to what everybody else is selling. Hell, I can't even speak to what Dr. Sabi's grandson and them are selling, because you're just hoping that it's true, on that it's containing the actual ingredients that it's supposed to. Now, CMOS has it's beyond a
Mm-hmm.
multivitamin, if you will. It has nutrients, has many different nutrients, has many different vitamins and minerals. I think the basic is like 92 vitamins and minerals. So I mean, these man-made vitamins that people are getting, CMOS is that and then some. I mean, it's obviously found in the ocean, but it has so many benefits to it. And a big one, which is why it's such a prevalent supplement for today, is its immunity and how it impacts people's immune systems. It is very high in a lot of antioxidants, and therefore has a profound effect on your immune system. It provides thyroid support. For those of you who don't know what your thyroid is, it definitely controls like your hormones, and how your body responds to certain things, inflammation. It just has a lot of different things. And so I've been an avid CMOS taker. I mean, I've been purchasing mine through Dr. Sabi's grandson and his daughter. I mean, obviously, there's many different ways you can get CMOS. Many different people who are out here doing some great work. But definitely do your research on it. Be careful of who you buy to, because obviously, when something like that explodes over these past few months because of this pandemic, it's always going to be a lower grade, things that aren't real, that definitely can harm your body more so than help it. And so I just wanted to touch on that briefly, because a lot of people have been talking about that. And it is COVID related, because, like I said, I think that it is something that can help be a preventative
Mm-hmm.
measure for folks. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't suggest, if you got it already, or if you're in some type of health crisis, it's not going to just heal you, but it definitely is something preventative that could, add to your whatever regimen you take on a daily for
Oh
your
yeah,
health
for sure,
benefit.
man.
So,
And me being in healthcare, in a sense, like people think that because I'm in healthcare, that I'm against natural call or natural methods of health. I'm like, that could be furthest from the truth. You feel what I'm saying? Like you just said, like the
right,
natural method is preventative. Like natural things are just not combative. That's why I feel like medicine has its place for things that nature necessarily can't do. You feel what I'm saying? Because like you
absolutely.
said, man, I think people should definitely, people have been doing it, should continue to do it even after this shit ends. Is take your health seriously, man. Take it super seriously, man. Like your health is to me. People say health, well, your health is beyond your wealth. You know what I'm saying? Your health is such a priceless gem that you really don't understand how fortunate you are until you're in a health jam. You feel what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
people take for granted
Absolutely.
being able to wake up and move. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like being able to walk
Yeah.
upstairs, being able to bend down and grab stuff, like being able to squat. Like people take a lot of the little things that we do on a day-to-day basis. People take that shit super for granted. And for me, it's like, you know, being from going through things that I've gone through with having knee surgery and stuff like that, like that is what really opened my eyes to like how grateful I am to even be able to walk around and going to rehab places and seeing people that can't do for themselves and need someone to help them move around or are stuck in a wheelchair. Like I would be remiss if I didn't take my health seriously, knowing the things I know and seeing the things that I've seen. Like, so it's kind of off topic, but like I take my health not only for myself, but for those that can't do it. You feel what I'm saying? Like I know
Absolutely.
people that are in wheelchairs that have been wheelchairs their entire life that will kill just have a chance to walk, not even run, just to walk. And you think I'm going to be lazy and not take advantage of having good fortune in that way? No, man, it's crazy. And I think people, I'm glad that this COVID-19. I'm not glad that it happened, but I'm glad that people are starting to, you know, change their thinking and change their approaches to their health. Man, I really, really love to see, and I hope that it continues to grow.
Absolutely, man. And so, I think we're gonna with that, man, we'll just wrap this episode up. But this isn't the end. I mean, COVID-19 is obviously such an explosive topic. We have plenty more to talk about on that, and we'll continue that on our next episode. Just to give you guys a heads up on, just a continuation from this podcast. We'll actually be talking about ways to shine through COVID. This crisis, through every crisis, there's a way to
Mm-hmm.
come out on top. There's a mindset, there's an approach to come through, and we'll talk about ways that we believe that we can come out on the shining end of this virus, and also, the media's impact on
Mm.
people's perception. We're also going to talk about that. Just we see it every day. I mean, hell, I'm sure a lot of people won't even watch the news
Yeah.
anymore because of that.
Yeah.
And I think another one for you guys to look forward to is, why are we seemingly being forced to choose between our health and our healthcare system and
Mm.
the economy? Why are we being forced to kind of choose? Why isn't it going to be, why isn't it a
Mm-hmm.
equal playing field or
Yeah.
anything like that? So just some stuff for you guys to look forward to on the next episode. We try to keep these episodes under about an hour or under an hour, just so you guys can, stick with us. We
Oh, for sure.
appreciate you. Again,
Yes,
you can give
sir.
them the
Thank y'all
tags,
again for
Linja, where they
listening.
can.
The tags, Instagram, TLAR_podcast. We're also streaming on YouTube and Spotify at the L.A.report. Subscribe, follow, and thank y'all again.